Burp. Hi, guys.
Okay, so we went and saw Red 2.
Yes.
I didn't realize we were seeing this until yesterday. And so we got together and we rewatched the first one, because neither of us had seen it since it first came out.
Years, yeah.
And I think that was our mistake, because the first Red is an adorable little movie. It's basically, if you haven't seen it, it's about, a bunch of retired CIA agents that get, like, official CIA hit put out on them by the vice president because they, like, bailed his ass out of Guatemala when he killed a bunch of people. Concise, well written. John Malkovich is adorable. Bruce Willis is adorable. Mary Louise Parker is adorable. A well-rounded character, despite being slightly immature.
Yeah.
And I, when it was done, I was like, all right, that was a fun little movie.
Yeah, the first movie has charm.
Red 2
really doesn't.
Was a fucked up Mad Lib sort of movie. It was like, it was like they wrote it with Mad Libs.
Yeah, it was literally like, hey, let's take parts of a bunch of different movies and put them together.
Yeah, it was like a series of vignettes starring Bruce Willis as befuddled, semi-competent guy. Well, because, like, in the first one, what made him so badass was that he was, like, he
was very competent and very calm.
He was calm, yeah, it was basically like, it's no big deal. But, like, in this one, it's like they tricked me into watching a relationship movie, because, like, in the first one, he had to take care of Mary Louise Parker. Sarah was her character's name, a couple times, and he was just like, all right, let's take care of Sarah and also get the bad guys. This one, he's, like, terrified of her getting injured, and that's the main point of contention between those two characters. And meanwhile, she's immature to the point of infantilism, so, like, accidentally shooting off guns, and, like, there's one point where, like, the only thing she had to do is not make eye contact with one person in a crowded restaurant, and she makes eye contact with him almost immediately, and shit goes sour.
Yeah, and just her it's just everything. Yeah, she also has this endless need to want to keep being part of action, but she's incompetent at it, and
well, because, like,
it's not endearing. It's fucking annoying.
Well, in the first one, you could tell that she was into the action, and she took kind of a sideline position, but he wasn't, like, trying to put her in a box and set the box to the side so that nothing happens to her. And in this one, she was overcompensating, except that they wrote her so incompetently that she ended up just being like, she was like Gilligan. She was basically the Gilligan of this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, this whole movie, I mean, it's just kind of a little hot mess of a movie. I can't say it was terrible. I really can't. It doesn't have the fun to it that the first one does, and a number of the characters are just completely fucking pointless.
Well, because, like, we've got main characters. We've got Bruce Willis, we've got Mary Louise Parker back again. We've got John Malkovich, and I got my own problems with him. Because in the first one, he's played a sort of a shell-shocked. His character had been giving daily doses of LSD for 11 years when he was in the CIA, and in the first movie, that definitely came across. This character seemed like sort of a mildly paranoid schizophrenic, but still affable contract killer.
Lovable nut bar.
Yeah, whereas in this one, he was like this weird hippie sage that kept, like, inserting himself into Bruce Willis and Mary Louise Parker's relationship, like, you gotta slide to the emotional safety zone, and, like, it was a completely different character, and it didn't really have a point in this movie other than to, like, drive up at the very beginning and tell Bruce Willis shit's going sour, and they basically tag along for their relationship squabbles for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, you could tell really the only time it was the same character, and it was very obvious when he would very obviously ad-lib a little bit, and whoever the director was, alright, we'll keep this.
Yeah, he'd get, like, the crazy eyes every once in a while, but I think that it's possible that they decided to downplay his character's quirkiness so that they could upplay Anthony Hopkins. But,
yes.
Well, okay, so we have Bruce Willis, we've got Mary Louise Parker, we've got John Malkovich. Who else do we have back from the first one? We had Helen Mirren, the incomparable Helen Mirren, who was, God bless her, doing her best, and her little Russian boyfriend came back, and that made me happy.
Brian Cox, who was a fantastic actor, and they were honestly the one scene they had together was really the highlight of the whole movie.
It was adorable. Well, she was kind of up and like sniping to provide cover, and she's doing it shoeless, like on her stomach, and so her feet are pointing up, and he's kind of like sitting back watching her shoot. Like, I love the way your toes curl right before you take a shot. She's like, oh, you. But so okay, we had those two. We didn't have I can't remember his name. Freckles. He died in the first one. Help me out here, man!
No, you figure this one out on your own.
My brain's going Malcolm McDowell, and that is so wrong on so many levels.
It's not. Malcolm McDowell.
No, hang on. March of the Penguins. You're the worst sort of person. Anyway, he's not in it. But they introduced a bunch of new characters. So we got Han, who's this little Asian guy, who's like the worst contract killer I've ever seen in a movie. Because, okay, so they introduce him as like the best contract killer the world has ever seen, and he's got a sort of a grudge against Bruce Willis that I didn't completely understand. And so when this contract gets put out on our main characters for a number of stupid reasons, they get Han to do it, and he is the showboatiest killer.
Yeah.
Like, his showboating
it's
let them get away
style.
on two separate occasions. Because there's one where his idea of perpetrating a hit is to load a machine, like a Gatling gun, on the back of a flatbed truck and just, like, strafe an entire street. And he keeps shouting, "Are you dead yet?" And Bruce Willis, like a moron's like, "Nope, not yet, huh? Keep trying." And then, so they end up just like blowing themselves down in the sewer, like, "Okay, Han, see you later, you're doing a fantastic job." And then the second time, like, he's in a grocery store, he's got Bruce Willis dead to rights, and then the cops come in, and he decides that instead of, like, killing them all efficiently and killing Bruce Willis, he, like, initiates, like, a kung fu action scene, and while he's doing this, Bruce Willis just strolls away down the street. There was no reason for that character, and even though there wasn't, they still didn't do him well.
They put that character in so they had an Asian guy to do martial arts.
They put that character in so he could take his shirt off. And I tell you what, I spent the last half an hour of that movie saying, you know, if he takes his shirt off again and just starts making out furiously with Helen Mirren, I will consider this movie a wash. Well, because, like, at the end when they were in the car together, you felt the tension, man. They should have just started making out.
Oh, man.
That would have been amazing. They didn't, though.
And then there's
Bafui.
Neil McDonough. Yeah, I think it's Neil McDonough, I believe is his name.
I don't know names, as evidenced.
I could very well. I should have IMDb'd it earlier, but it's.
Which one was Neil McDonald?
McDonough, I believe.
Okay.
The blonde dude.
Oh, okay.
He
was slightly
things.
creepy.
Well, he's one of those guys that shows up in a lot of movies, and sometimes he's awesome, and sometimes he's terrible. Mm-hmm. And like, there's stuff I love him in Ravenous. He was really fun in Captain America, but there's others like Minority Report. I fucking hated him in that. Mm-hmm. But he's one of those dudes that shows up, and he's another pointless character. I mean,
he was definitely a menacing dude. I don't think any of the actors did a bad job in this movie. It's just that the writing was so terrible that there was really nothing that they could do with it.
It was not as well done as the last one.
Not remotely.
The writing's off, the direction, like the fun thing about the first one is there's action scenes in it, but they're not really like showcase action scenes. They're just kind of what's happening around.
Yeah, they're
the
integrated
story.
into the plot.
Yeah, and this it's just like, okay, they did every couple beats we need an action scene, so they put an action scene in, like a car chase for no reason. And
the car chase to make me hate Mary Louise Parker's character even more, because she managed to get herself wedged into an alley.
And there was no reason why she should have been fucking driving a car anyway. And it wasn't done well, and the editing was fucking god awful. Pointless close-ups for no reason.
I didn't notice the editing so much.
Horrible cut sequences where they drew everybody out like comic books.
Okay, yeah.
What the fuck was that about?
If you're associated with DC, well, Red is based on a comic book. We both know this,
yes.
And it did say DC at the beginning. You'd think that they could have gotten a better artist to do. Did you recognize the art?
No. It was like the opening sequence is animated, and I think that's based off the artwork in the comic book. Mm-hmm. But these little cut sequences, they just basically did vector drawings of the scene, and it's really badly done, and it's pointless.
Yeah, like, you know, like when you pause a movie on a DVD and you always end up getting like the least flattering screens, like pause of whoever's on screen. It's like they did that on purpose and then drew a picture of it so that they could segue.
And you know, it's a pointless. We don't need to be reminded it's a comic book movie. It's not that kind of comic book movie, and even in comic book movies where they've done that before, it didn't really work that well. It's just, yeah, it was just and they didn't do it in the first one, so it's not tying anything together. In the first one, they had the adorable thing with the postcards,
yeah,
and that was actually kind of adorable, and it worked, and it was. But this, it's fucking silly and pointless, and but at the same time, I'm sitting here and thinking about this movie, and I can't say I hate it. It's definitely not the worst thing I've seen all year. It would take a lot for it to be the worst thing I've seen all year.
I disliked it perhaps more than you did because I've got the female characters in this movie, Helen Mirren notwithstanding, were portrayed poorly, let's say. Okay, so you said that there was no reason for her to be driving a car when she obviously had
Mary Louise Parker.
No idea. But it was because they introduced Catherine Zeta-Jones as, like, Bruce Willis' kryptonite. They said that, like, 5 different times. Because, like, she was apparently some spy that he had worked with back in the day.
I'll take back something we said earlier, though, real quick. There is one person that gave a shitty performance in the movie.
Yes, and that was Catherine Zeta-Jones. Well, they had so much goop on her face that I think they were trying to make her look less attractive so that you knew that she wasn't supposed to, like, be stealing, because she's a really, really pretty woman. But they coaled the unholy shit out of her eyes, and she had, like, the foundation they had on her was, like, weirdly matte, so it looked like her face was made out of silly putty, and her lips were drawn way bigger than her actual lips, and she just, like, wilted and weird, and they had her with, like, straight across bangs, but that's, you know, that's nitpicky. But, so they introduced her as basically to make Mary Louise Parker's character insecure with her relationship with Bruce Willis, because he saw her, and he gets all, like, lovey-gaga-eyed.
Yeah.
And they make out in front of her, and I would have left the room and never came back to that particular room, but that's just me. And so she decided, well, I'm going to show her I'm going to be a better spy than she ever was. So, like, when this guy that they're trying to interrogate takes off down the street, this actually was kind of a cool action sequence. Catherine Zeta-Jones, like, drives up to Bruce Willis and whips the car around, and while it's whipping around, she slides over to the passenger seat and kicks the door open so he can just kind of step in.
And steering with her foot at the same time.
I think they were harkening back to that in the first one when he, like, kind of just sauntered out of the police car while it was in mid-spin. It wasn't done as well. But anyway, so they're chasing, Bruce Willis and Catherine Zeta-Jones are chasing after the guy, and so Mary Louise Parker jumps into, like, this weird little European-y, like, tiny little car with John Malkovich, and they're, like, driving after, and it's supposed to be wacky, but it's just making me hate her for not having the balls to, you know, call Bruce Willis out for making out with this woman, and hate Catherine Zeta-Jones for putting me in that position. And it was a weird subplot, and it didn't need to be in there, except that it was.
Yeah, it wasn't necessary, and it was, and even if it was necessary, Catherine Zeta-Jones not only was terrible in it, she was horribly miscast.
And she was supposed to play like a Russian spy.
Yeah, and I'm not saying there can't be Hispanic.
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
I'm not saying there can't be Hispanic people in Russia, and that they can't be spies. But sometimes it's okay to run with the stereotype.
Sometimes it's okay to hire a Russian woman.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but you know what? Yeah, the white chick with a bad accent would have been better than Catherine Zeta-Jones.
One thing I will say about this movie, though, is it did cast age-appropriate women. I mean, they were all definitely younger than the guys in the movie, but not by that much. Because I remember when I first saw Red, I didn't really know who Mary Louise Parker was. And so I was kind of upset that they cast such a young woman to play against Bruce Willis, but we looked her up on IMDb.
She's
like 8 years younger than him. She just looks really good.
I don't even think 8 years, like 5 maybe.
No, it was 8 years.
Was it?
I remember.
Okay.
Because he was born. He was born in 55, and she was born in 60
something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was.
She looks damn good for her age.
10ish years. So, and then Catherine Zeta-Jones, who is getting on, and obviously Helen Mirren.
Yes.
And so, you know, that at least had something going for it. It still didn't pass the Baruchel test, and it's the movie with the most women in it I've seen in a while that still didn't pass that goddamn test. I'm sure I've talked about this in the reviews. It's basically at least 2 named female characters who have a conversation with each other about something other than a man. Nope. But let's talk about Anthony Hopkins.
Okay.
Because he was a shining point of this movie.
He was a shining point in this movie, and he's Anthony Hopkins. I mean, he's fucking great.
He's gonna kill it in pretty much anything you
Yeah.
put him in, but he got to play this. We're getting into spoilers, but it's Red 2. I'm not sure
It's
you care.
you know what? It's not a spoiler. Because
Oh, is
I
it?
didn't tell
Yeah, I
you
was
this when
gonna
you were
ask
talking
you.
about it yesterday, but the latest TV spots reveal that he's the bad guy.
Okay, because you said that there was
Yeah.
a spoiler, and I asked you not to tell me, and I was wondering if that was what it was when he
it's
double-crossed
the
him.
dumbest promotion ever, because honestly, if the movie was a little bit better, it'd be a solid twist. Because halfway through, he's not the crazy, affable old man. He's he's almost a Bond villain.
I didn't see it coming, but since they cast Anthony Hopkins, I probably should have. It's basically like, as part of the huge there's like, I usually try to explain the plot in these things, but it's so fucking convoluted. It's like, they got a hit put out on them because there was a WikiLeak saying that they knew where this bomb was, but they didn't know where this bomb was, so they had to try and figure out where this bomb was. So they found the guy who made the bomb, which is Anthony Hopkins, who was locked in some like mental institution for 32 years. And so they break him out and try to like get him off the cocktail of meds that he was taking, so that he could, because he had like Alzheimer's, or like dementia or something like that, or he apparently was faking it.
Just Looney Tunes.
So
yeah.
he like, you know, they're getting him off the cocktail of meds he was on so he could remember where he hit the bomb. And so he's like kind of traipsing down the street and like forgetting stuff and inventing, you know, imaginary friends, and like I think he was like goose stepping at one point, which I thought was a little peculiar. And so but then all of a sudden, you know, he, like the Kaiser Soze switch flips and he, you know, turns the tide on them, steals the bomb, and they have to chase him.
And straight up murders some people.
He does. He's cold-blooded, and he's doing this just all very
Gentlemanly.
Britishy. It was
Yeah.
so funny because I said like jolly good and toodle pip and shit like that. But it was Anthony Hopkins, so I wasn't like annoyed with the stereotypicalness of it. I just thought it was him being like portraying a discrepancy between like the extremely cultured aspect of his personality and the straight up murdering people in cold blood aspect.
No, like I said, kind of a Bond villain.
Yes.
And he is the high point of the movie because it's fun watching him. He's one of those actors that even if he's in something that's not a great movie, he's fun to watch.
I still need to see that movie where he played like an evil possessed priest or whatever, and I heard that movie was terrible. But again, he was the high point of it. Plus, you know, what was Mask of Zorro? Is that the one he was in?
Yeah, one of those horror movies. There was that movie. What was it called? Frailty with Gosling. Like that movie is not that good, but he's fucking great in it.
So yeah, definitely don't see it.
No, don't
Even if,
bother.
especially if you like the first one, don't bother.
It's a subpar sequel to an adequate movie. Is really
I found the first one more than adequate. I actually like in this movie. I was trying to figure out.
See, and that's why I like the first one though, is because it's so adequate. It's perfectly adequate.
Like comfort food movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I don't want to say a popcorn movie because it's not necessarily a popcorn movie, but it's very easy to sit down, watch it.
Well, it had a good sense of humor to it. Whereas
Yeah.
this movie was just like, I am saying things to you because it is important to the plot that I
Yeah.
say a thing to
Yes.
you, and I shall respond in kind. Let us chase this guy.
Here's an unnecessary character. All right, fuck it, let's kill him off. Here's another unnecessary character. All right, fuck it, let's kill him off.
Dude, they were killing a lot more innocent people in this movie than they were in the first one.
They
They
were.
shot up an Iranian embassy, which, all right, you know, the higher ups were trying to buy a bomb,
Yeah.
but these were just like the people working in the lobby, just getting gunned down by the dozens for. Oh, it's Jared. I invite you to cordially fuck off. He's fucking off.
Twice, no less.
Him and Tracy went to see Pacific Rim,
Yes.
which is a much better movie than this movie.
Much.
So
much.
to that extent, I'm a little jealous. But anyway, final thoughts. Don't bother. Let's talk about the previews though, because there was one that
Commercials.
commercials. No, let's talk about the previews. Okay, so because there was one preview that I'd never seen before that It was the Wolf of Wall Street.
The Wolf of Wall Street, yeah, the new
And
Scorsese movie.
That was fucking brilliant looking. Are you kidding me? Like, had you seen that one before?
Brad and I saw that. We saw that. We saw it before something it had no business being in front of, and I can't really remember what, but that trailer's fantastic.
It was fantastic. Well, I couldn't even tell what the conflict was supposed to be. It was just money, bitches, money's taped to bitches, swimming pools, money in swimming pools. Martin Scorsese.
Yeah. Now,
sold.
Yeah, Martin Scorsese has great trailers, always. So even if it's one of his worst movies, which it'll still be a fantastic movie in that case, it's an amazing trailer.
Well, because like when I saw Great Gatsby, one of the things I was excited about was Leonardo DiCaprio coming back, because I hadn't seen him in a while, and that movie disappointed me. But this, I think, I will be pleased with, because it seems more in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, I mean, he was awesome in Django, too.
Well, I still haven't seen that one.
No, he kills it.
It's one of on the list of movies I'm in trouble for never having seen. Morgan fucking Freeman, thank you.
Finally! I mentioned the movie about slaves, and it pops into your head.
Oh my god. Okay, so we were standing outside because we're both terrible about remembering which previews we got. But we got Rush, which I can't even remember what it was about, except that I thought it'd be funny to tell Jake there was a Rush movie and see if he misunderstands.
It's the racing movie with Chris Hemsworth and dude from Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, it's
directed by Ron Howard, and it just looks it looks like it's probably really, really well made, but boring as hell.
I think that it looks like it's going to be depressing as hell, because that preview wasn't the preview I'd seen for before, where the guy gets his face melted off halfway through. Have you seen that preview?
I have.
It's like a horrific car accident, and the rest of the preview is like him going through rehab. That was not the preview that we got.
You know, I'm always all for the human spirit prevails movie.
Boy, I sure am.
But that one just looks boring.
Well, I don't mind a racing movie, but
Yeah.
and those are very pretty men. But okay, so we got Ender's Game, which I have to bitch about a little bit because I bitched about this on Twitter the other day. Ender's Game is one of my absolute favorite books, and it was my favorite book growing up, and I didn't realize until recent years what a homophobic ninny Orson Scott Card is. And, you know, in normal circumstances, I'd probably just not worry about seeing the movie, but I plan to anyway. So I think what I'll probably do is I'll, like, donate twice the ticket price to, like, a gay rights advocacy group.
Yeah, it's... You know, I've read that book several times, and I always liked Orson Scott Card's writing, but just the level of his bigotry is outstanding. Mm-hmm. It's not just like if he was one of those dudes that's just like, I don't agree. Whatever, I don't have to like that, but whatever, that's your opinion. No, he's like vocally just hateful.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I'm going to that extent, but I think that, generally speaking, you're allowed to like a work of art without necessarily liking the person who produced it.
Oh yeah, Hitler did fantastic drawings.
I've never seen Hitler's drawing. I was thinking more like Michael Jackson. Like, Amanda Palmer's been bugging the crap out of me lately, but I still like a lot of her songs.
I went for the extreme, I'm sorry.
I'm so surprised. Okay, so what else did we get? We got The City of Bones.
Oh yeah, the Mortal.
Because I think Jillian has to go see that, and I'm thinking about offering, because I've got an extra Audible credit, so I might just go ahead and get the book to listen to at work.
You have fun with that. I'm gonna avoid that.
It's got that little Ponzi dude from Sweeney Todd. I think he's kind of adorable.
Avoid that like the Black Plague. You weren't paying attention at the time, but we got the trailer to The Butler again, which I am so excited about. Because I just have to see Cusack play Nixon.
You can have all of that.
I don't care about the rest. I really just want to see the scenes with Cusack playing Nixon. And we got something else. I know we did.
I can't even remember.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
It was mostly like a bunch of like... They knew when they were just putting out the previews for us that we were going to see an action-y movie, so it seems like they gave us like the action-iest version.
Oh, we got the trailer for The Escape Plan.
Yes. Oh my god. Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger breaking out of jail.
And Stallone's like a genius in it.
It looked like, basically to me, it looked like they took that one part of Face Off where they're breaking out of like future jail and made it into a feature-length film.
It's probably going to be one
Which is not a point against it.
like, and the guards are wearing like very matte black masks for some reason. I'm sure there's
They're
a
going
reason.
as a Hollywood undead.
Oh my god! That movie looks it's like every Stallone movie. Every time
It
I
looks
see
god awful, but I think Brad will probably like it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too. It's like every time I see a Stallone trailer, I'm like, yeah, Stallone, and then I end up hating it.
Oh.
Like bullet to the head.
Oh, wah wah. I think that it looks like it could be interesting, but it's not really my kind of movie, but I do like a heist, and it seems like this is an inside-out heist, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, and then we got Las Vegas.
Oh, Las Vegas.
The Hangover for geriatrics.
Well, because, like, if it was just the Hangover for geriatrics, I'd be like, okay, I want none of this. But it seemed like it was more, because they had, like, a sort of interesting premise, at least what they showed in the preview, that they had, like, all the little friends, you know, going to Las Vegas because they're, one of their friends is marrying a woman, like, a third of his age. And so they're going to go have a bachelor party for him. But they've also cast like 4 little boys to play the same characters.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're kind of switching POVs between like putting the little boys into the situation and having them react to stuff.
It's if nothing else, I'll say this about the trailer. It kind of looked adorable.
It did look a little adorable.
It kind of looked adorable.
And they definitely didn't make that movie for me, but I didn't, you know, I wasn't.
And you know,
wasn't really put
Kevin
off by
Kline's always entertaining, so I mean, you got that.
I like him with his big old Dreyfus beard.
He's got a big old Dreyfus beard in it too, which maybe he's going, well, they didn't cast Dreyfus in this movie, so we'll
I like Bill Murray in the Royal Tenenbaum. That beard just says like effete elbow patched older man.
Yes, exactly. Like the slightly effeminate college professor.
Yes, exactly. So still relay the pipe, but just really sensitive about it.
Yes, exactly.
Lay the pipe. Okay, we can end on that.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, previews pretty good. Really looking forward to Wolf of Wall Street. Red 2 can suck a bag of dicks, but not vehemently so.
Yeah.
Seconded.
Yeah.